Why most people are trained to trade time forever. Most people don't think they're trapped by time. They think they're just being responsible. They wake up early, they commute, they work their hours, they get paid, they repeat. From the outside, everything looks normal, stable, adult, even successful. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people are not choosing to trade time for money, they were trained to. And once that pattern is locked in, it becomes incredibly hard to imagine life any other way. Not because alternatives don't exist, but because time trading is presented as the only safe option. If you've ever wondered why decades of work can still leave people financially anxious, exhausted, and dependent on the next paycheck, this is why. This topic matters because trading time for money isn't just common, it's treated as the only responsible way to live. For most people in the US and the UK, financial life follows a familiar script. You get educated, find a job, and learn very quickly that income is tied to presence. Show up, get paid, miss time, lose money. Over time, this connection becomes so normal that it stops being questioned. At first, the arrangement feels fair. You trade hours for income, and income provides stability. Bills get paid, life feels predictable. But as years pass, the structure tightens, fixed costs increase, responsibilities grow, and suddenly, time no longer feels flexible, it feels pre-sold. What makes this especially dangerous is how invisible the shift is. There's no moment where people consciously decide to trade time forever. It happens gradually. A promotion brings higher pay, but also higher expectations. A bigger home brings comfort, but also a longer financial commitment. Each step feels logical on its own. Eventually, many people don't feel exploited. They feel busy, constantly managing schedules, deadlines, and obligations just to maintain what they already have. The core issue isn't that people work, it's that most people are never taught another way to relate to income. They learn how to earn, but not how to build separation between money and constant effort. As a result, freedom remains conditional, always dependent on trading tomorrow's time to sustain today's life. Most people don't consciously choose to trade time forever. They are conditioned into it by systems that reward dependence and discourage alternatives. It starts early. Education trains people to follow schedules, meet deadlines, and exchange effort for approval. Success is measured by attendance, output, and compliance. This mindset carries directly into work, where income is tied to presence rather than long-term value creation. Careers then reinforce the pattern. Most jobs are built around predictability. You're paid for showing up, staying available, and fitting into a fixed structure. Reliability is rewarded more than leverage. Even promotions usually increase responsibility without changing the underlying rule. No time worked means no income earned. Culturally, stability is treated as the highest virtue. A steady paycheck is framed as success. Risk is portrayed as irresponsible. Stepping off the standard path is often discouraged, especially early in life. As a result, many people optimize for short-term safety without understanding the long-term cost of dependence. Habits lock it in further. As income rises, fixed expenses rise too. Mortgages, subscriptions, lifestyle upgrades, and social expectations quietly increase the minimum income required just to maintain normal life. This raises the price of time. Missing work no longer feels like rest, it feels dangerous. Psychologically, trading time feels safe because it offers certainty. You work, you get paid. That immediate feedback is comforting. But it also discourages long-term thinking. Building leverage feels abstract compared to next month's bills. None of this happens because people are careless or unambitious. It happens because the system consistently rewards time dependence while making alternatives feel risky, distant, or unrealistic. Over time, selling time stops feeling like a choice, it feels like the only option. Breaking out of time dependence doesn't mean rejecting work or walking away from responsibility. It means learning how to stop treating time as the only thing you have to offer. The first shift is mental. Most people ask, how can I earn more per hour? A more useful question is, what am I building that still has value when I'm not actively working? That change in perspective alone reshapes decisions. This doesn't require extreme moves. It starts with using your current job differently. Instead of seeing work only as a paycheck, you begin to see it as a platform, a place to acquire skills that scale, not just tasks that repeat, skills that increase your future options, not just your current workload. The next step is treating income as a tool, not a finish line. Any surplus, no matter how small, can be directed toward things that reduce future time dependence. Consistent investing, learning skills that aren't tied to hourly output, creating systems that don't reset every pay period. Another important shift is resisting automatic lifestyle expansion. When income rises, most people increase comfort immediately, but comfort raises the price of freedom. Delaying upgrades, even temporarily, preserves flexibility and creates room to experiment without panic. Progress here often feels slow. That's normal. Separating income from effort is gradual, not dramatic. There are no overnight breakthroughs, but each intentional decision slightly weakens the link between your time and your survival. Over time, that link loosens. Work becomes a choice instead of a requirement. Time becomes something you allocate, not something you sell. And while you may still work hard, you're no longer trapped in a system where stopping means everything stops with you. The long-term consequences of trading time for money rarely appear all at once. That's why so many people underestimate them. In the early years, everything feels manageable. You're working, earning, progressing on paper. Life looks stable, even successful. But over decades, the cost becomes clear. When income remains tightly linked to time, flexibility slowly disappears. More of your future is pre-committed. Work schedules dictate personal decisions. Taking breaks feels risky. Even short pauses come with financial consequences. Time stops feeling like a resource and starts feeling like a liability. As responsibilities increase, the pressure intensifies. Career changes feel dangerous. Learning new skills feels impractical. Long-term investing feels harder to prioritize. Not because people lack discipline, but because the margin for error keeps shrinking. One disruption can ripple through everything. Many people don't burn out emotionally, they burn out strategically. They realize that despite years of effort, their position hasn't changed much. They're still dependent on showing up, still constrained by schedules, still trading tomorrow's time to protect today's stability. By contrast, when people begin reducing time dependence early, the long-term trajectory shifts. Progress feels slower at first, but it compounds. Skills deepen, assets grow quietly, income becomes less fragile, time becomes more flexible. This is where discipline and consistency matter more than intensity. Small decisions, repeated over years, change the structure of life. And eventually, the most valuable outcome isn't more money, it's optionality. The ability to slow down, change direction, or step back without panic. That kind of freedom doesn't arrive suddenly. It's built quietly, long before it's ever felt. At the end of the day, this isn't about escaping work or rejecting responsibility. Trading time for money isn't wrong. It's often how stability begins. The real issue is never questioning whether it should be the only way your life functions. Most people don't feel trapped by time. They feel busy. They feel needed. They feel like they're doing what adults are supposed to do. And because life keeps moving, deeper questions get postponed. Comfort and routine quietly replace reflection. The danger is that time dependence doesn't announce itself as a problem. It grows slowly, one obligation at a time, one commitment layered onto the next, until eventually, stopping feels impossible, not because you don't want to slow down, but because everything depends on you continuing. The goal isn't to eliminate work or to have a perfect plan. Very few people ever do. The real shift is awareness, recognizing how much of your future is already spoken for, and why, understanding which decisions are building flexibility, and which ones are quietly locking it away. Once you start seeing this clearly, your relationship with time begins to change. You stop measuring progress by how full your schedule is, and start measuring it by how many options you're creating. You become more intentional with commitments, more selective with effort, and more patient with outcomes. Financial clarity doesn't arrive all at once. It's built gradually, through better questions, small adjustments, and consistency over time. But once it starts forming, It changes how you think about work, income, and freedom. Time stops being something you sell by default and starts becoming something you choose how to use. So here's the question to leave you with. Do you feel like you're consciously choosing how your time is traded, or simply following a pattern you inherited? And what part of your life feels most dependent on you never stepping away? Share your thoughts in the comments. That's often where awareness begins, and where real change quietly starts.